Koshala was a prosperous kingdom in ancient India ruled by King Dashrath. It was situated on the bank of the Saryu, and its capital was Ayodhya. Dashrath had 3 queens, but none of them had borne him a son. So, the king decided to perform a yagna. From the blazing fire, there emerged a divine form. The divine form says, "Take this pahyasa prepared by the gods and let your wives partake of it. Then they will bear sons." The divine form then disappeared. The king took the precious gift first to Kausalya, his eldest queen. King Dashrath says, "Kausalya, please have half of this. You will have a son." He shared the remaining payasa between his other 2 wives, Sumitra and Kekeyi. In due course, 4 sons were born. Kausalya's son was named Rama, and Kekeyi's son was named Bharat. Sumitra had twins, Lakshman and Shatrudhna. The princes learnt the Vedas. They learnt how to ride horses and elephants. Before they were 16, they had mastered the use of weapons. One day, as Dashrath sat at court with his ministers, a royal guard entered the hall. Royal guard says, "Your Majesty, Sage Vishwamitra has come to see you." The king hurried out to receive the sage. After the sage had come in and accepted a seat, the king addressed him. King Dashrath says, "Holy One, tell me the purpose of your visit. Is there anything you desire? I'll carry out your orders without question." Sage Vishwamitra says, "The Rakshasas obstruct my fire sacrifices. As each sacrifice nears completion, they defile the altar. Send your valiant son, Rama, with me to destroy them." King Dashrath says, "Oh, no." Dashrath was shocked by the words of the sage and, losing consciousness, he fell down. When he recovered, he spoke anxiously. King Dashrath says, "Rama is not yet 16. He has no experience of war. How can he fight the mighty Rakshasas? Take my army. If you wish, I'll come myself to fight the Rakshasas. But spare my darling son, Rama." Sage Vishwamitra says, "It has to be Rama, and no one else." The sage was displeased by the king's reluctance. Sage Vishwamitra says, "O king, you have gone back on your word. This ill befits the noble tradition of your family. I take my leave of you, O untruthful king." Then Vashishta, the royal preceptor, intervened. Vashishta says, "Wait, Vishwamitra. No one leaves King Dashrath's court dissatisfied." He turned to the king. Vashishta says, "Your son will come to no harm in the protection of Vishwamitra, who is quite capable of destroying the Rakshasas himself. It is for Rama's own good, to train him in warfare, that Vishwamitra has chosen to take him. O king, be true to your word and let Rama go." Dashrath accepted the advice and sent for Rama and Lakshman. King Dashrath says, "Children, go with sage Vishwamitra and carry out his commands." The 3 left Ayodhya, crossed the confluence of the Saryu and the Ganga, and proceeded further. Sage Vishwamitra says, "O Rama, once this place was alive with people. The wicked Rakshasi, Tatka, has devastated it. Save this land by destroying her." Rama says, "As you command, sir." As Rama lifted his bow, the sound of its string echoed through the forest. Tatka heard the sound. Tatka says, "A trespasser. I'll eat him." Running towards him, she threw a shower of rocks, which Rama parried with ease. She then made herself invisible and continued to shower heavy rocks on them. Sage Vishwamitra says, "Slay her." Lakshman says, "But where is she?" Rama says, "There." Rama sent a shower of arrows in her direction. But Tatka continued to advance menacingly. Then Rama's arrow pierced her heart, and she fell dead. Vishwamitra was pleased with Rama's valor, so he proceeded to reveal the secrets of the divine weapons to him. They resumed their journey and soon arrived at the sage's hermitage. The ascetics received them warmly. The ascetics say, "O great sage, begin your sacrifice without delay, and may success attend upon you." Rama and Lakshman kept vigil as the sacrifice progressed. On the sixth day, Rama suddenly noticed the approaching Rakshasas. Rama says, "Look, Lakshman, the Rakshasas. Just as the wind scatters the clouds, so shall we destroy them." Rama's arrow found its mark. The Rakshasa, Maricha, was hit with such force that he was flung into the sea, 100 miles away. Subahu and the other Rakshasas were also vanquished by Rama and Lakshman. Meanwhile, the fire sacrifice was completed successfully. Sage Vishwamitra says, "I've accomplished my mission because you carried out my wishes. O Rama, you've made my Siddhashram worthy of its name." Rama says, "I only did my duty, Holy One." Then the sages who had attended Vishwamitra's sacrifice spoke to Rama. Sage says, "Prince, we are going to Mithila to attend the yagna to be performed by King Janaka. Why don't you come with us?" Rama says, "Gladly." So Rama and Lakshman set off with Vishwamitra and the other sages. On the way, the sages told Rama about Shiva's famous bow, which was now in the possession of Janaka. Rama says, "Could we see Shiva's bow when we arrive at Mithila?" Sage says, "You could, if King Janaka gives his permission." At Mithila, when King Janaka called on Vishwamitra and the other sages to pay his respects and to invite them to the sacrifice, he noticed Rama and his brother. King Janaka says, "Holy One, who are these two princes who shine like the sun and the moon?" Vishwamitra says, "They are the sons of Dashrath." The next day, Vishwamitra and the princes called on Janaka at the sacrificial site. Vishwamitra says, "O king, the princes are eager to see the great bow." King Janaka says, "Many kings, O sage, have tried in vain to string the great bow of Shiva. If Rama succeeds in this, he shall marry my daughter, Sita." Sita was Janaka's adopted daughter. While ploughing a sacrificial site, he had found her in one of the furrows. Soon, at Janaka's command, 500 strong men brought from the city the 8-wheeled box in which the great bow was kept. King Janaka says, "O sage, here is the great bow of Shiva. The princes may examine it." Rama opened the box and lifted up the bow effortlessly. Even as he strung it, the bow broke into two with a thunderous sound that shook the earth. When he had recovered from the shock, Janaka turned to Vishwamitra. King Janaka says, "I am indeed fortunate to have witnessed such a feat. My daughter shall have Rama as her lord and enhance the glory of my dynasty. With your permission, I will convey the glad news to King Dashrath." In due course, Dashrath arrived in Mithila to attend the marriage ceremony. King Janaka says, "O Rama, from this moment, my daughter, the virtuous Sita, will be your companion. She will follow you like a shadow. May you both be happy." Lakshman married Sita's sister, Urmila. Bharat married Mandavi, and Shatrughna married Shrutkirti, both daughters of Janaka's brother, King Kushadhwaja. Flowers rained down from heaven as the couples went around the sacred fire. After the ceremony, Vishwamitra blessed the princes and their brides and then left for the Himalayas to meditate. Dashrath set out for his capital with his sons and their brides. On the way, sage Parshuram, a sworn enemy of the warrior class, suddenly barred their path. Parshuram said, "O Rama, having heard about your heroic achievements, I've come to seek combat with you." Dashrath trembled all over at these words. Dashrath pleaded, "O Holy One, spare my son, who is but a child, I implore you." Ignoring Dashrath's pleas, Parshuram brought forth his bow. Parshuram said, "Here, take this great bow of Vishnu. If you succeed in drawing this bow, I'll consider you worthy of my respect." Rama then seized the bow and placed an arrow in it, ready for use. Seeing Rama's strength and skill, Parshuram was convinced of his true greatness. Parshuram said, "O Rama, I am now convinced that you are none other than Vishnu." Parshuram then returned to his abode on Mount Mahendra, and Dashrath resumed his journey with his party. Ayodhya gave a rousing welcome to the princes and their brides. Some time later, Bharat went to his maternal grandfather's kingdom on a visit. Rama took good care of his father. Dashrath thought, he is affectionate and considerate. 12 years passed by. As the years went by, Dashrath began to feel the weight of old age. Dashrath thought, I am getting old. Rama is loved by all. It is time to name him my successor. Dashrath called a meeting of his council. Dashrath said, I have ruled this great kingdom in accordance with the traditions of my ancestors. Now I have grown old and, with your consent, I desire to install my eldest son, Rama, best among men, as Yuvraj. Council members replied, we approve. Another council member said, Rama is the perfect choice. Others agreed, yes. In forbearance, Rama is like the earth, in wisdom like Brihaspati, in valor like Indra. Pleased by the unanimous support, Dashrath sent for Rama. Dashrath said to Rama, my son, accept the high office of Yuvraj. Rule your subjects with due regard for their happiness. Rama replied, thank you, father. Kaikeyi, Dashrath's third wife, heard the news from Manthra, her maid. Kaikeyi said happily, my Rama is to be crowned? I am so happy. Here, take my necklace as a reward for bringing the good news. But Manthra flung the necklace away. Manthra said, this is no joyous occasion. Rama will be king and Bharat, nothing. Kaikeyi replied, but, Manthra, Rama is as dear to me as Bharat. Manthra said, O foolish queen, can't you see why they have decided to crown Rama in Bharat's absence? When Rama becomes king, he will either banish Bharat or put him to death. Kaikeyi answered firmly, no, he won't. I know my Rama. But Manthra continued relentlessly. Manthra said, Kausalya will become the queen mother, and you'll have to bow to her wishes. Manthra's words had the desired effect, for Kaikeyi was jealous of Kausalya. Kaikeyi said thoughtfully, perhaps you are right. Manthra replied, for your son's sake, and your own, you must think of a way to get rid of Rama. Manthra continued, persuade the king to place Bharat on the throne instead. Kaikeyi asked, but how? Will the king listen to me? Manthra reminded her, have you forgotten the boons the king bestowed on you? Kaikeyi exclaimed, yes. I could use them now. The next morning, the nobles assembled in the royal court to witness the investiture of Rama as crown prince. A nobleman said, preparations for the ceremony are now complete. But where is the king? Another nobleman replied, I hope there is nothing wrong. The nobles grew impatient as they waited in the royal court. A nobleman asked, Honorable Sumantra, we have been waiting for the king. Why the delay? Sumantra replied, I am sorry, but I can't stop to explain just now. I am on my way to Rama's palace. Sumantra hurried to Rama's palace. Sumantra said, Prince, the king wishes to see you. He is in the apartments of Queen Kaikeyi. Rama listened carefully and then turned to Sita. Rama said, Sita, Mother Kaikeyi is kind and considerate. She is probably discussing the details of the ceremony with my father. I must go to meet them. When Rama entered Kaikeyi's palace, he immediately sensed that something was wrong. Looking at his father, he thought, "My father seems to be in great distress. Why is he not happy to see me? Why is he frowning?" Concerned, Rama turned to Keikei. Rama asked, "Have I offended my father? Please plead on my behalf, O mother, and ask him to forgive me." Dashrath remained silent, unable to speak. Keikei then addressed Rama. Keikei said, "Rama, long ago your father had promised me two boons. He is silent and sorrowful, because the fulfillment of those boons will cause you unpleasantness." Rama remained calm and respectful. Rama replied, "I am prepared to throw myself into fire if my father desires it. Please let me know the boons and I promise to fulfill them." Keikei began to explain the story behind the two boons. Keikei said, "O Rama, long ago I had accompanied the king when he set out to fight the Asuras. He fought bravely and killed many Asuras. As the battle raged on, Dashrath was struck by an arrow and fell wounded." Keikei continued, "Sensing the danger to his life, I drove the chariot through the besieging army of the Asuras and brought him back safely to the capital." Grateful for her courage, Dashrath had then spoken to her. Dashrath said, "Keikei, I owe my life to you. Ask for two boons." Keikei replied, "Lord, I shall claim them when the need arises." Having finished her story, Keikei looked at Rama. Keikei said, "And the need has arisen now. If you and your father would uphold the truth, then you will listen to me." Keikei finally revealed the two boons she wished to claim. Keikei said, "Let Bharat be made the Yuvraj, and let Rama be exiled to the forest for 14 years. At these words, Dashrath was once again overwhelmed with grief. Dashrath cried out, "O Rama!" Yet Rama betrayed no sign of distress. Rama replied calmly, "To fulfill the promise made by the king, my father, I shall leave for the forest immediately." Dashrath looked at his son with sorrow in his heart. Dashrath thought, "My Rama." Rama was puzzled by his father's anguish. Rama wondered, "But why doesn't my father talk to me affectionately? I feel distressed to see him shedding tears." Keikei answered, "It is because he cannot bring himself to ask you to go to the forest. But he will neither bathe nor partake of food until you leave." On hearing the words of Keikei, Dashrath suddenly got up. Dashrath said angrily, "Shame upon you, Keikei." Rama interrupted gently, "Father."
Overcome by sorrow, Dashrath fell unconscious. Rama cried out, "O father!" Deeply troubled by his father's suffering, Rama turned to Keikei. Rama said, "Mother, you could have asked me to go to the forest without claiming the promised boons and causing distress to my father. I would have gladly obeyed you." On his way out, Rama passed through the palace hall where the sacred articles for his coronation had been arranged. Walking around them with folded hands, he offered a prayer. Rama prayed, "May these be dedicated to the coronation of Bharat. May the gods protect him." By then, the nobles gathered in the palace hall had learnt of Keikei's demand and Rama's decision to give up the throne. One nobleman remarked, "He doesn't seem to be sorry to give up the throne." Another nobleman said, "There he goes like a yogi." The nobles watched in amazement as Rama walked away calmly, showing neither anger nor regret despite the great sacrifice he had made. Rama called on Kausalya, his mother, to bid her goodbye. Kausalya said tearfully, "O child, how can I bear this? To have a son and then to be separated from him is worse than having no child at all." When Lakshman saw Kausalya in tears, he was overcome with grief. Lakshman said angrily, "Our father has lost his senses in his old age, or he would not have deprived sinless Rama of the kingdom and exiled him." He then turned to Rama. Lakshman continued, the king cannot confer the kingdom on Bharat while ignoring your rights as his eldest son. Lakshman added, the meek are ever oppressed. Assert yourself. If anyone dares oppose you, I will deal with him. Rama listened patiently and then replied. Rama said, Lakshman, in such circumstances, a man should strive to uphold his duty. Give up this reliance on violence. I will be acting against my duty if I prevent the fulfillment of my father's promises. Lakshman's anger gave way to devotion. Lakshman said, if you cannot change your mind, let me to go with you into exile. Rama said, Mother, the king is already deeply distressed. He will die if you desert him. Your place is beside him. Give me your blessing and let me go. Kausalya realized that it was futile to try and stop him. Holding back her tears, she gave him her blessing and threw rice over his head. Kausalya said, Go, my son. She then applied sandalwood paste on his forehead. Kausalya blessed him, May the gods of the mountains, seas, rivers, space, day and night, and the stars protect you in the forest. Rama then went to Sita to take his leave of her. Sita said firmly, O Rama, I won't be separated from you. I shall accompany you to the forest. Rama replied, Sita, the forest is full of beasts. It is no place for a delicate lady. You are used to comforts, stay here in the palace. Sita pleased, my lord, in your company the forest will be like heaven, and without you even the palace will be hell. Take me with you. Don't abandon me. Rama saw that Sita's mind was firmly made up. Rama said, Now that I know your wishes, I shall take you with me. Lakshman then stepped forward and spoke to Rama. Lakshman said, I will come too, Rama. Without you I desire nothing, not even immortality. Take me with you. Rama replied warmly, Very well, brother. You shall be a solace to me. Rama then gave away his wealth and prepared to leave Ayodhya. Accompanied by Sita and Lakshman, he set out on foot for Dashrath's palace. The people watched their beloved prince with tears in their eyes. One citizen remarked, Formerly all 4 divisions of the army used to attend on Rama. Today he is followed only by Sita and Lakshman. Another citizen said sadly, Did we decorate the capital only to send our prince to the forest? As Rama walked through the streets of Ayodhya, the citizens spoke sorrowfully among themselves. One citizen said, Rama is virtuous, compassionate, learned, truthful, and self-controlled. Another citizen asked, How could the king send so dear a son into exile? A third citizen declared, We will abandon our homes and follow Rama. The crowd agreed, Yes, we will. When Rama's arrival was announced, the old king struggled to his feet to greet him. Dashrath cried out, O Rama! But the very next moment, he collapsed unconscious. Rama rushed forward, took his father in his arms, and gently placed him on a couch. After some time, Dashrath regained consciousness and looked at Rama with tearful eyes. Dashrath pleaded, O Rama, Kaikeyi has betrayed me. Don't go to the forest. Set me aside, seize the kingdom and rule. But Rama remained calm and respectful. Rama replied, Father, may God grant you many more years of peace in your kingdom. After 14 years, I will return to serve you. Permit me to leave now, Father, with Sita and Lakshman. Unable to bear the thought of losing his son, Dashrath made one last offer. Dashrath said, Then take my wealth and people with you, Rama. Let the forest where you dwell be the kingdom. Hearing this, Keikei grew anxious. Keikei thought, oh no. Keikei quickly said, O king, Bharat will not accept a kingdom stripped of its wealth and people. Rama gently reassured his father. Rama said, Father, what need have I of wealth in the forest? The trees, clouds, and sparkling streams, those are wealth enough. Rama then made a simple request. Rama said, I'll lead the life of an ascetic. Give me robes of bark. At these words, no one in the court moved. The nobles were deeply saddened. One nobleman protested, No, Rama. Another nobleman said, How can we bear to see our prince attired in bark? But Keikei personally went and fetched garments of bark. Keikei said, Here, put these on. Rama and Lakshman calmly changed into the robes of bark. Sita asked, How do women ascetics wear these robes? Rama replied, I'll show you. Gently, Rama helped Sita put on the bark garments, preparing her for the life they would soon begin in the forest. Sage Vasishtha said, Sita is not compelled to go into exile. Going of her own free will, it is only befitting that she should be attired in royal dress. Also, let her keep her ornaments as well. Dashrath agreed with Vasishtha's words. Respecting the wishes of the elders, Sita accepted the ornaments offered by Dashrath. Rama then bowed before Dashrath and the queens. Soon afterward, he left the palace with Sita and Lakshman. The three stepped into the chariot that would take them to the borders of the kingdom. As the chariot rolled forward, people ran after it in tears, while the old king stood watching helplessly. One citizen called out, O charioteer, drive slowly. Let us behold Rama as long as we can. Rama was deeply moved by the love of the people. Rama said, Please go back. If you really love me, bestow the love and honor you show to me on Bharat. But the citizens were unwilling to leave him. A citizen replied, We will follow you a little while longer. It was night by the time Rama, Sita, Lakshman, and the citizens reached the banks of the river Thamasa. There they rested. Before dawn, Rama spoke softly to Lakshman. Rama said, Lakshman, let us go before these good people wake up. Otherwise, they will not leave us. Leaving quietly, the three continued their journey and reached the southern border of Kosala. There they alighted from the chariot. Turning his face toward Ayodhya, Rama joined his palms in salutation. Rama prayed, O Ayodhya, I bid you farewell. After my pledge is fulfilled, I shall return from the forest and behold you and my parents again. Proceeding southwards, Rama, Sita, and Lakshman crossed the rivers Thamasa, Vedashruti, and Gomti. When they arrived on the northern bank of the river Ganga, they were warmly received by Guha, the chief of the hunters who lived in that region. Guha said, O prince, tell me how I can serve you. Rama replied, Provide me with a boat to cross over to the southern bank. The next morning, Rama rubbed his hair with the sap of the bhurja tree, and Lakshman did the same. Their hair became matted, and they now looked like ascetics of the forest. The following day, Rama spoke to Sumantra. Rama said, Sumantra, it is time for you to return to Ayodhya. Sumantra's eyes filled with tears. Sumantra replied, How can I return with an empty chariot? No, Rama, I won't go back. I will accompany you to the forest and serve you. Rama gently tried to persuade him. Rama said, Sumantra, if you have affection for me, do as I say. Go back to Ayodhya. Console my father and assure Mother Keikei that I have indeed left for the forest. Though reluctant to leave, Sumantra finally agreed. After bidding him farewell, Rama, Sita, and Lakshman crossed the river in the boat provided by Guha and continued their journey into the forest.
So, dear viewers, this was the first part and a first step towards globally learning and educating oneself about Holy Book Ramayan, written by Saint Valmiki. This effort takes quite a while, so encourage us by subscribing for part 2. This book can also be purchased in hard copy, which is supported by Amar Chitra Katha. This said organization, Amar Chitra Katha, is doing a noble job, and we appreciate them for images, picturization, and dialogues. The same is available for public, too. Again, we urge all the viewers to subscribe our channel. As you can see, a free movie, Sundarakanda, Hanuman, action, adventure, and true, known, emotional, known to all. Jai Shri Ram.